Good morning, folks. How are you doing? Today, I believe, is the very first day of April 2024. It's about 9:10 in the morning, I think. Exactly. You can see down there on the little line down there. It's a nice day down here in Tampa, Florida on a Monday. Today, we're going to talk about Gaza. We're going to talk about Benjamin Netanyahu. I'm going to talk about the massive protests that have been taking place starting yesterday outside of the Knesset. Tens of thousands of people, according to Israeli news mainstream media reports. Of course, it's being downplayed here in the States, while certain Congress critters call for Hiroshima and Nagasaki style approach toward Gaza. What was his name? I forget his name. Tom something. He's obviously a Republican Congress critter, and he says he was taken out of context. What he meant, what he was saying was, and the way the context was that he was saying it, was that we should just rip the Band-Aid off and not send any aid, and instead put that money into more fucking bullets and more bombs for the IDF to kill more Palestinians, because the faster they exterminate them or get them to flee Gaza, the sooner this thing all comes to an end. That was his approach. I forget his last name. I know it's on my website. There's a clip from the article on my website. You can look at it from there. People are in a big rush. The final holdouts, the Zionist supporting holdouts, the apologists in this country, are desperate now because they can really smell there's blood in the water, so to speak, in the political spectrum in Israel. And it looks like Bibi is on his way out. This massive protest is going to continue until at least Wednesday. And they might do an Occupy kind of situation, depending on if the if the Israeli police continue doing what they're doing. They are hitting people with water cannons. They are arbitrarily arresting people they think are leaders. And this is not. They're not doing this to Palestinians. They're doing it to Israelis. I'm wondering at what point in time they're going to start shooting fellow Israeli citizens in the legs to get them to stop the protests. But we'll talk about all that here in a second. Let's just go to my website and we'll start from the beginning here. Where is this? Is this article here? Erdogan's party lost those mayoral elections. They were close. Here it is. I told you I had it. It's Michigan. It's Tim Walberg. Michigan Congressman Tim Walberg believes Washington should not waste money on humanitarian aid for Gazan citizens, civilians, or even in Ukraine. Instead, focus on supporting Israel and Kiev's war effort to achieve quick victories. That's right. Continue with the make Gaza unlivable and make it even worse for the people in Gaza. And even the civilians in Donbass and things like that, just bomb the shit out of them. And instead put that money into weapons for Ukrainian Nazis, neo-Nazis, and the rabid Zionists in Israel, the IDF. Yeah, that's Tim Walberg's opinion. He says he was taken out of context. There's no way to take that out of context. Everyone's saying, Erdogan steals elections and all this shit. They just lost a very close election. His party lost a close election to the Republican People's Party, CHP. It was close. And the mayoral seats that they wanted to win, Erdogan's party, the Justice and Development Party, AKP, they were trying to regain those seats after losing them 5 years ago. in another quote-unquote stolen election because Erdogan steals elections. No, apparently not. But of course, the folks who are busy, especially on the alt-left, trying to regime change fucking help the deep state and State Department and National Endowment for Democracy regime change Turkey, and the Mossad, by the way, they're going to just skip over that little nugget of information. It was close. And Erdogan says that he's going to have to, reevaluate and take a look at what's going on and their policies and so forth and so on, because you can't, ignore election results. And these are important these are important positions. These mayorships are important positions in Istanbul and Ankara. You have to remember, this happens all the time, and it is not shocking. You will find left-leaning nations, left-leaning countries, but you will find hard-right, free marketeer mayors or governors in these places, the ones that do have free and open elections, because the majority of the people who are in those areas, if those areas are centered around the economic sphere, the economics of the country, they're gonna go fucking right wing. They're gonna go in support of free markets and bringing in neoliberals and things like that. And that's exactly what happened 5 years ago. That's exactly what happened yesterday. It's not a shock. And you're not going to win those people. You can give a little bit, you can concede a little bit, they'll just take it and want more. They'll just take it and want more. They'll just take it and want more. That's how they are. So the sooner you understand that, the better off you'll be. That's my advice to Erdogan, if I can give advice to a world leader. The Israeli army has killed 400 Palestinians in the Gaza Al-Shifa hospital. That's actually on the Al-Shifa hospital grounds. They've killed 400. They are pulling out. They are leaving Al-Shifa hospital. That's another article previous to the one I talked about with the Tim Wahlberg thing. They have killed 400 Palestinians and demolished over 1,000 homes during the 13-day raid on Al-Shifa hospital. I reported a while ago, no, I didn't. I reported last week that they have executed 14 children in front of their parents at Al-Shifa. I mean, just executed them, killed them outside in the yard, and no one says a word. This is I wish I could say it was an April Fool's thing, but it's not. If you recall, we covered the initial assault on Al-Shifa and the multiple attempts their PR team did trying to spin up bullshit lies about what was going on in Al-Shifa so they could get in there and justify fucking attacking and killing doctors and people and patients. We talked about that. And there was a lot of attention in terms of even the mainstream media talking about this. They've destroyed 20 hospitals. There was one that had been made by Qatar as they were coming through. It was in Rafah, going in towards Rafah, and they showed them bringing in heavy equipment, demolition equipment, and tearing it down. They are destroying the infrastructure. They are making Gaza unlivable. And that's what we were saying when they were trying to do this to Al-Shifa. And of course, they had idiots running around with saying they had put black tape over the fucking cameras somehow because Hamas had security cameras put up, but then Hamas decided to put black tape up on the security cameras so they couldn't see anybody coming in the fucking building, which was just stupid. Obviously, the Israelis put the black tape up on the fucking, before they brought in the athletic bags full of fucking guns, which of course they handily put right there near the entrance so that they could do a press conference and show the press the evidence they had. It was all lies, just so they could destroy a fucking hospital and a cancer center and a maternity ward. I mean, unbelievable. But again, this is what they're doing. They are deliberately, systematically destroying the infrastructure that makes life livable in Gaza. So that once the fucking Nakba pier is up and running, Joe Biden and the U.S. military can effectively get all the people who want to leave because there's no chance at having a fucking life. That's what they're doing. Now, whether they're going to succeed or not is the question. We've said before many times that there's no way they can bomb 1 million fucking people to death and then take Gaza and say, oh, no one's here. Silly me, I didn't realize that what they were actually doing was they'd already figured that out from the very beginning. They agreed with me. So instead, what they're doing is they're destroying all the infrastructure to make Gaza an unlivable hellhole. So they can drive people off of their ancestral land. This is what Jews are doing in Palestine. This is the nature of Zionism. Not, don't get me wrong, not that Judaism has anything to do with Zionism, because it doesn't. Let's talk about these things. This is from the New York Times. Thousands, it's tens of thousands, of Israelis filled the streets outside the Knesset and the Israeli parliament in Jerusalem on Sunday to call for early elections in one of the most significant demonstrations against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government since the start of the war between Israel and Hamas. Sunday's protest in Jerusalem got underway one day after thousands of people took to the streets in Tel Aviv in a separate anti-government protest. That was Saturday. And as Mr. Netanyahu faces mounting pressure from Israelis who believe he's put his political survival ahead of the broader interests in the Israeli people. I've been saying this since the first week of this conflict. That he and fucking the head of the IDF and the head of the Mossad and the Likud party, because this happened under their watch, and since then we've known that they had forewarning, and we know just how many, we don't know how many, but we know a number of these 785 civilians who were killed on October the 7th were actually killed by the IDF. And that comes from Israeli sources. That doesn't come from Gaza. That doesn't come from Hamas. That doesn't come from Palestinian Jihad. That comes from Times of Israel, Haaretz, Jerusalem Post, and IDF fucking commanders and soldiers. We don't know the numbers, and from witnesses, Israeli fucking witnesses. We don't know the numbers, but they are large. How large, we don't know yet because there hasn't really been a commission or investigation, which is another reason why Benjamin Netanyahu refuses to step down and refuses to take his foot off the gas. It is true that his coalition is cobbled together from a number of smaller ones, like the ultra-Orthodox fucking hyper-religious Hasidim, or the Jewish people. And of course, the Likud party, the Zionists. Both of which will stand to lose a lot, especially the Likud party. The Likud party is going to lose when there are snap elections after this thing is done. When there are snap elections, the Likud party will be wiped out. They will be gone from power. Even right-wing Israelis who are Zionists are sick of it because they are helping to facilitate this and drag it on, and they know that. And they know that they are doing it because they know they will lose power once this is over and there are snap elections, which is definitely going to happen, and every single poll shows that. So Likud is hanging on by their fingernails, and the only thing keeping them going is the bombing of fucking Rafah and the killing of Palestinian citizens. But so too do the ultra-Orthodox. Right now, there is a massive conflict. I'm going to show you videos of all this stuff right now. I'm going to stop running my mouth and show you some videos of all this stuff from yesterday. But part of the conflict that's on the streets right now are between people who are having to sign up for the draft, and even some people who are being called up to have to sign, who've already done a year's service, and now they're being called up to go back and do it again. And the ultra-Orthodox Hasidim, or the scholars, and not Hasidim, I forget what they're called in Israel, but these scholars who are of military age, but they are not forced to go because they are so religious. They are the religious backbone of the Jewish heritage of Israel. For some reason, they are excluded. And of course, Benjamin Netanyahu now, because he needs numbers, they're running out of fucking people. They're not reporting on how many IDF soldiers have been killed or injured in this. It's a lot more than they're reporting. That's another reason he doesn't want to leave power. But right now, him and the Likudniks are pushing through legislation to get these guys drafted. But on the other side, people who are in his coalition, the ultra-Orthodox people in his coalition, are saying, what are you doing to us? You can't do this to us. So he's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't. And of course, the general population in Israel, up until now, when it was just, keep the quote-unquote orcs on their side of the fence and do some checkpoints and every now and then harass a fucking child or help a settler burn down some fucking olive trees or an olive orchard that belongs to some Palestinian family. When that was all there was to it, the rest of the population was just fine with leaving the ultra-Orthodox people to study their scrolls or whatever the hell they do, or rock back and forth, chanting some crazy stuff. They were fine with that. But now body bags are coming back. Now it's war. And people are being called up to go back and fight again. And they're like, and these people are sitting around rocking back and forth, reading scripture, saying crazy stuff. Bullshit. They need to come out here. There's a video of them fighting in the streets. I'm going to show you that in a few seconds. Fighting in the streets. This is tearing. I reported before, people have said, this continuation of this, which does not serve Israel's interest in the slightest. We've talked about that too. What's happening outside of Israel, Jewish people, Israeli supporters are having a harder and harder and harder time, as the videos come out, as the pictures come out, as the numbers come out, as everyone in the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, has issued their fucking ruling. All of this stuff is coming out and making people look at Israel and go, what the fuck are you doing? There's 33,000 dead people. You lost 760 civilians, some of whom were killed by the IDF, but you lost 763 civilians on October the 7th. And now you're comparing that to 33,000. Clearly, and what you're doing is destroying the infrastructure so you can move in and take over. And you've got fucking Zionist women on the side of the street who just can't wait to get some beachfront property with her and her fucking bougie friends. Clearly, this is not doing Israel's reputation outside of the country any fucking favors. They all know, as the New York Times wrote, that this is about Bibi Netanyahu and the Zionists staying in power. That's it. People are sick of it. And you'll see in a few seconds what that manifests to. These are not from, I'm going to show you videos. They're not from, Al Jazeera, or they're not from rabid leftist commie sites. This is The Guardian. This is On Demand News. This is the Daily Mail. This is the Associated Press. This is the Times. They're showing these things. Now, Al Jazeera, this is interesting. They are reviving a push that started in February. But they are reviving a push to get Al Jazeera shut down. Because Al Jazeera is producing a lot of these videos and they are showing what's actually happening in real time. This started Friday because they knew this protest was coming up. And now Monday, they talked about it Friday, but Monday, first thing Monday, the call came in supposedly from Benjamin Netanyahu from his hospital bed. We'll talk about that in a second. They need to shut down anybody showing what's actually happening. And Al Jazeera is the first one. But there's going to be others. I've told you before, Israel has a much freer press than we do. Much freer press than we do. They can talk about things that our press can't. Because they don't have the same kind of influence imposing, right think on their journalists that we do. Al Jazeera is still operating inside of Israel, and it's going to take an act of Congress and the Knesset, and they're trying to push that through right now. Supposedly coming from Benjamin Netanyahu, but you'll see why in a few seconds. Why they have to stop this. Why they have to shut down free press. Now, Bibi on Saturday, after the first major protest, the one that took place in Tel Aviv, Bibi decides, I got to go to the doctor. Oh, look at that, I got a hernia. And so he was in the hospital all day on Sunday, supposedly getting a hernia operation, while this massive protest I'm going to show you a video of started up on Sunday, the one in Jerusalem outside of the Knesset. He took a powder. He didn't want to have to actually have any comments or have cameras stuck in front of his face. The only place he could go where that wouldn't happen and nobody would say he was hiding from the fucking press was a hospital. So that's what he did. What's he hiding from? Well, let's talk about this. I'll show you these 5 videos. We'll start off with The Guardian.
ואתה כושל היום. אתה ראש הממשלה הכושל שהיה בתולדות ישראל.
Now this is going to continue until Wednesday. Notice, you're going to get some jackasses from the alt media saying that this is all fucking, this is like black bloc guys. These are destabilization assets. These are the same thing that happened in this country, and others. That's bullshit. You can tell the difference because, first of all, they're not all fucking military age guys or police officer age guys. And second, because they're not hiding their faces. They're not covering up their faces. These are just average, everyday fucking civilians. Okay? Now, of course, the ones in the scuffles will probably be males. There'll be some females. But they'll probably be males because in a situation like that, older people, weaker people, people with children, obviously, they're going to grab whoever's close to them, whoever they care about, and try to get away from it. Whereas you will have angry fucking males, usually, sometimes females, pushing back against the fucking cops. But that does not mean they are fucking black bloc or Antifa or whatever the fucking destabilization guys are. They just pissed off civilians. This is starting to look like Tahrir Square. Okay, we got that one. We've got this one from On Demand News. I tried to pick the shorter ones and some without commentary. This one might be the one showing the conflict between conscripts and the ultra-Orthodox. Tens of thousands rallied in Tel Aviv and outside the Knesset, staging large anti-fucking Netanyahu protests. Protesters urge the government to reach a ceasefire deal and free Hamas-held hostages and to hold early elections, right? To get rid of the Netanyahu and the zionists. This is just going to get bigger. This is just going to get bigger. Some of the same stock footage. We'll move on to here. This is Daily Mail. Remember the bridge and the conflict in Egypt? Horses. Remember the horses and the water cannons being used in Tahrir Square? By Mubarak. Using horses to push people around. Shoving women. Situations like this get out of hand really quickly. Now this is, and here you see regular fucking, I don't mean regular as in the ultra-Orthodox aren't regular, of course they're regular, but here you see people who aren't ultra-Orthodox, especially men, in a conflict with the ultra-Orthodox. Because these guys don't have to, and that's the thing that was going on last night. I don't know how that was resolved last night. I got to look into that and see how that was resolved. But either way, it's a lose-lose for Netanyahu. It's a lose-lose for Netanyahu. If the ultra-Orthodox get what they want, then he's going to lose. He's going to lose a percentage, a good percentage, of even the fucking right-wingers in Israel. Because they don't want these guys given special treatment anymore. It was okay to do it when it was just an occupation force that were just abusing and blackbagging occasionally certain Palestinians in the West Bank and keeping them off the fence in Gaza, shooting them in the legs. But now people are dying. Now IDF soldiers are dying. And they're like, what's so special about these guys? And so this is what's happening here. As I said last week, as somebody, inside Israel was writing, this is tearing the fabric of Israel apart. They had accepted all of this before. Not anymore. They had accepted the fact that they were superior to the fucking quote-unquote orcs on the other side of the fence. Not anymore. They had accepted the fact that their fucking security system and their tech protected them. Not anymore. Al-Aqsa Storm has completely ripped it's ripped the mask off what Zionism is to the rest of the world. And it has torn the blinders from the Israeli people. That is a perfect embodiment. This is a perfect little fucking embodiment of what's going on there. Here you have fucking Israeli citizens throwing their hands up and going, all right, listen. And here is this ultra-Orthodox guy saying, we've been given this privilege for 70 years. And you want to take it away now? And he's like, well, right? Before it was just Palestinians getting hurt. Now it's Israelis. Now actually signing up for the IDF is dangerous. So yeah, I want you in. This is a perfect fucking encapsulation. That one little image there. All these videos are on my website. You can go look at them. If you pull up Israel Protest 2024, even if it's a couple days later from now, you see that you see this video, and you want to go straight to those, and you don't have to scroll through all the stuff I'm going to put up the next couple of days. Just go to Israel Protest 2024, okay? Which I include Israel Protest 2023 because remember, because of the Supreme Court change they wanted to make in Israel, and Bibi Netanyahu was behind that. He was on thin ice to start with. It's just going to get worse. This is from the Associated Press.
ולחיי החטופים בפרט.
Now remember, while this is happening, Bibi's supposedly in the hospital hiding.
We came for a sit-down that will last from today until end of day Wednesday, 3 days, to block the Knesset, the Israeli parliament. This is the last week of the parliament session because before they go on hiatus or vacation, yes, during time of war and when we still have 134 hostages still in Gaza, we came to call on them, on this government to resign. This is a government that has failed us repeatedly from last year, that when they tried to pass the judicial overhaul on October 7th, when so many people have died and they couldn't help us, and from October 8th and on, they're still neglecting us. They passed an outrageous budget that has nothing to do with the fact that we're still at war and there's so many people who are still displaced.
That's also happening up in the north. And people hardly even talk about that. We're talking about 80,000 people at least displaced from their homes in the north, Israelis, because of what's going on in Gaza. Because Hezbollah's not having it. And because Israel is attacking fucking Lebanon. I think we have one last one here. We do. And this is from the Times. This was massive. Now, it's more spread out, but take a look at this. This one I'm going to give you in full screen, so you can see just the size and scope of this. Tahrir Square in Egypt in 2011, I believe it was when it started. It was small in comparison to this, but remember, this has been going on for quite some time. There have been other protests. The one in Tel Aviv. This is the one. The one you're going to look at now is Jerusalem. It's whichever one is outside of the Knesset. This one's outside of the Knesset. Well, it's in Jerusalem. This says it's in Jerusalem, so that's in Jerusalem. And of course, don't forget, the judicial overhaul that they tried to do last year was extremely unpopular. Tens of thousands of people were protesting against that. It was overreach. It was a power reach, a power grab by Bibi, again, to stay in power because he knows he's facing fucking charges. He's facing the equivalent of felony charges. So not only does he fight when this thing is over, he loses power, his party loses power, the Likudniks lose power, the Zionist dream is pretty much over, but also Bibi himself may just be arrested for other charges. So he's got a lot. He's just hanging on by a thread. Look at the numbers. Look at these people. Man, that does have shades of the bridges of fucking Here we have the horses again. Shoving people with their horses. Dragging them off. The dungeons. And of course, here we have this. We've already seen all of this. This is what Zionism and this is what Benjamin Netanyahu are doing to the state of Israel. Supposedly, in an effort to expand the state of the glorious state of Israel, to stand up for Judaism. Neither of them, neither of those two things are true. They are doing what they are doing in spite of the best interests of the people of Israel, the state of Israel, the reputation of Israel, and in spite of the damage it's doing, quite frankly, to the reputation of Judaism. I've said it before, I'll say it again. There's nothing more, there's few things more anti-Semitic than Zionism. Because it's got nothing to do with religion. It hides behind a religion, but it's got nothing to do with religion. And this is exposing Zionism better than anything else possibly could. And if that really was the plan, and from early on, that's what they claimed it was, if that really was the plan, why they did what they did in Al-Aqsa flood. They were quietly, they had already lost over 200 people had been killed in Gaza by October the 7th by the IDF, as opposed to less than 30. I talked about that from the very beginning. I showed you that from the very beginning. They were quietly being fucking erased. They were quietly being fucking killed. They were being starved. They had no hope. This was a Hail Mary. This attempt was an attempted Hail Mary. And they knew that the retribution that the IDF and Netanyahu would inflict would be heavy. The cost would be heavy. And they hoped that enough people across the world would pay attention and see it and recognize it for what it was and get sick of it. This was a Hail Mary. And the touchdown in the end would be if they can, in fact, come to a two-state solution where they get the fucking Israeli settlers and the IDF the fuck out of the West Bank. They go back to the June 1967 Green Line borders, which have been recognized as the borders between Israel and Palestine since by the vast majority of the world since June 1967. And still are, by the way, except for us and, of course, glorious Israel. What they hoped would happen is, in a sense, happening. However, it's costing a lot. It's taking a hell of a toll. Whether or not they foresaw this tearing Israel apart, again, that's not for me to know or speculate. But this kind of action only takes, all that needs to happen is someone needs to film someone getting shot in the face, some IDF soldier going off and hurting a child or hurting a woman, and that being on caught on film and then broadcast, which is one of the reasons I'm sure they want to get rid of fucking Al Jazeera, because that's exactly what was happening and what happened in Egypt at Tahrir Square. If you recall, and I was covering it back then, if you recall, Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, at first, they were like, we don't want anything, it's not our business, we don't want to, and he had already killed 50, 60, Mubarak did. He was, they killed a bunch of people in order to try to put down this fucking occupation. It was where the Occupy movement really started. It didn't start in Washington, in New York City, in Wall Street. It started in Tahrir Square. They didn't want any part of it. But then Al Jazeera was showing on a daily basis, live stream, nothing but streaming live out of fucking Egypt. And they saw people getting trampled by fucking horses. They saw fucking Egyptian fucking military vehicles running people over, streaming through the thing. They saw people getting shot and killed. And all of a sudden, because of that, because it was no longer hidden, it was on Al Jazeera, and then everybody was turning off of NBC and Fox and CBS and going to watch Al Jazeera. All of a sudden, they all said, we got to show this stuff, otherwise we're going to go out of business. And so they started showing it. Capitalism. When that happened, Hillary Clinton had to come out and say, yeah, we got to go talk to my boy in Egypt. And convince him to step down. That's going to happen here. If this thing goes past Wednesday, it's done. It might be done already for Bibi. I'm sure it is. I mean, one way or the other. This conflict won't go on forever. One way or the other. They'll never forgive him for dragging this out. God knows how many IDF soldiers have been killed needlessly over this. We know how many we still don't know yet how many Palestinians have been killed. But that's saying nothing about the 140 hostages who are still being held in fucking Gaza. While the IDF bombs indiscriminately, could easily be killing them. They've already killed several of the hostages themselves. 2 of which were walking across a field with no shirts on, holding a white flag, speaking Hebrew, and the scared little fucking conscripts shot them. So that's what's happening in Gaza today and in Israel today. We will see what happens. I will continue to cover what's going on with these protests outside the Knesset. And like I said, situations like this, it just takes one. It takes one slip up. It takes one scared fucking IDF soldier. It takes one angry fucking marauder on horseback. And this shit can get out of hand real fast. This might be the end of Bibi Netanyahu. And it might be the end. It might be the beginning of the end of this fucking conflict. I thank you for your time.